next week. Go ahead and switch it over. That's all right. Hey, what I tell you, what I liked most about it was the actually like why it hit on it a little bit was the defense. And the defense lined up in the right area. It looks like they knew what they were doing. To me, it looked like they're a lot faster this year. Now, granted, like we talked about before, it was Bowling Green, but I've always harped on first year. Tennessee is not the place to be a first year anything. Now I know we delved a little into Banks before. I know he called plays before, but it's been a while. But I was really impressed with him and the way that him and his coaching staff, I guess his side of the ball, really got the players ready. Man, the defensive line, again, we know it's Bowling Green, but it looks like they played with some a leverage and they just, what is it? Fell off the snow. I'm sorry, jumped off the ball or whatever. I'm messing up here, but yeah, they had a lot of energy and they were lined up. I'll tell you another thing I liked about this. It was not sloppy. We have on both sides of the ball, we were inserting two new systems. And really, I think they only had 5 penalties overall, which is pretty impressive to me being year one, game one. I figured they'd be a little more sloppier, not knowing they're doing, but that was really clean. But that's the things that I really gathered. I really, really liked about what I saw in last Thursday game. My question, everybody's talking about Joe Milton, Joe Milton, Joe Milton. Why? What's your first impression of Joe Milton?
There's a lot of times I wish. Okay, first off, I think the kid has got an absolute cannon on him, and I think if we can get that under control, I think we've got some potential for some absolute Russell Wilson moon balls this season, as I like to call it. If he can get his accuracy down a little bit, I really like the strength of his arm. Yeah, I just think he's got to get a little bit more accurate. I think that comes in practice, though. And, Heupel, as good as a quarterback coach he is, I think he's the guy to help him get there. I'd like to see him maybe keep the ball a little more. I don't know if the plays were designed RPOs or they were supposed to be given to the running back. But if they were RPOs, there were a couple times I thought he could have held on to the ball and ran for the first down where we didn't get as many yards. But overall, I thought Milton. I see people all over social media complain about Milton. I think it's a little bit how in love people are with Harrison Bailey because how highly a recruit he is. I mean, I thought Milton, for as little as they opened up the playbook, I thought he played a pretty decent game. There's some things to definitely improve. I think the accuracy is the main thing. He's got to improve on them on the deep ball. But I don't care. I think so many fans have a commitment to a certain guy because he was a highly touted recruit. They want him to be the guy. I don't care how highly a guy was recruited. I want the guy that's going to be the best quarterback for us. And if that's Milton, then I trust Heupel to get him there for us. I think he's built like a tank. I think he can run the ball and he won't get hurt. So I'd like to see him maybe run it a little more. It's just, I don't know if those are RPOs or not, that he was giving the ball off to the running back or not. So maybe if those were RPOs, I'd like to see him hold on to the ball a little bit more.
Man, I really don't think he can run for as big as he is. He doesn't seem. I know he's more athletic than me, but he doesn't seem that athletic to me for as big and as strong as what they, talked about him being. Kevin, what's your first thoughts on Joe?
He reminded me a lot of Jamarcus Russell at LSU. Just his size and his cannon and his athleticism. You're right. He's not a burner. He's not going to outrun anybody. But I think what he does do is he's physically imposing, and you got to respect him in the run game because he's fast enough to hurt you. I noticed one thing about him, and that is he didn't take Bowling Green seriously at all, in my opinion. I think that he probably could have had much better stats. That's the first time I've ever seen a quarterback in the game motioning for his receivers to go long in the middle of a play.
Like it's backyard football.
That's backyard football there.
Right.
And if you look at the replay of the game, he had guys wide open across the middle on a couple of those plays, but he was just trying to get that home run shot.
Right.
I think when we go to next week, just talking about Joe Milton in general, I think you'll see a guy a little bit more disciplined because he's going to respect that opponent a lot more. And I'm hoping for a big improvement.
Okay. We got a couple comments, a couple people watching. Hey, thanks for joining us. First one is Barry Buck. Barry Buck. Hey, thanks for joining us.
Very.
Yeah, what's it say? Fix other team time possession like second quarter. And then we have Matt Green joining us. Thanks for joining us, Matt. Hey guys, Milton wasn't very impressive for his hype. I mean, I agree. I agree, Matt. I was like you said. I feel like Wyatt hit on that, the accuracy. My buddy, my good friend, what is it? My good friend Mario. He always talks about the two most important attributes that a quarterback needs to have is decision making and accuracy. And I guess you can almost arguably put it in between. I mean, my thing is like for example, for the sake of point, what's his name? Oh my gosh, Aaron Rodgers. Now he can fit a ball in anywhere, and so he made the good decision. With anybody else, they couldn't make that throw, so it would have been a bad decision for most quarterbacks. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. What else was I gonna say? What else with Milton? Oh, what you were talking about, Kevin. You were saying that you didn't think that he respected Bowling Green. My thing was I was watching. They showed a couple clips of him playing for Michigan. And he got teed off on against was it Indiana? So I think that's something that they're gonna have to coach out of him with that. He stands in the backfield like a statue, and I want to get what y'all think about this. I personally don't think he's gonna last all year, even if he wins the starting quarterback position the whole time. We got that train coming. Here we go. But I really don't think he's gonna last because he's gonna get teed off on once we start playing Georgia, Florida's, and all those boys. What y'all thoughts on that?
Now, repeat that about Milton getting teed off again.
Was I breaking up? What I was saying is, man, he stands in the backfield like a statue, and so I think that I think he's gonna get injured before. No matter how big you are, I know he's 6'5". I know he's 6'5", 20 something. But man, those boys are gonna be coming after you, and if you're just standing in there like a dummy, and not a dummy, but you know what I'm talking about, like a mannequin, I should say.
I think that goes back to what Kevin was saying, talking about wasn't taking Bowling Green serious because up here a lot of I don't even have SEC network, so I had to go to a bar to watch the game, and I couldn't hear a lot. I was kind of mad I wasn't able to hear a lot of the sound of the game.
Right.
So there was times I was thinking the play was blown dead because Milton was just standing back there. It's like he wasn't bouncing around. He was really just standing on both his feet.
Exactly.
And so I was thinking the play was called dead, where there's a flag or something. And I'm like, no, just he has all day to throw. And this looks good right now for offensive line, but we're playing Bowling Green. They're just pushing anybody back, which can point to these guys have got potential. But I'm hoping it's what Kevin was saying. He just wasn't taking them serious. He realizes this is Bowling Green. He's allowed to do that. Well, if he does that against Florida and Georgia, he's gonna get killed. He's gonna get his clock clean good. So, but I think coaches are going to go back and film. He probably got chewed out this morning film saying, I don't care if it's Bowling Green. You can't be standing around like there, or you're going to get clean like that. I don't care a good coach will tell him that. So,
right.
We'll see though, because it was just UMass, but Pittsburgh doesn't look like they lost 5 future NFL players on that defense this past week. And it was just UMass. UMass might be worse than Bowling Green.
I highly doubt that.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's defense didn't look like it skipped a beat from losing 5 NFL players from last year.
Okay, Kevin, go ahead. Would you think he's going to last all year if he stands back there like that?
I'm not really worried about him getting hurt. I'm more worried about him getting strip sacked from behind or getting the ball stripped away from him and turnovers more than anything.
So you ain't worried about him getting hurt, though.
Okay. He's so big, man. You're going to have to really put a hit on him to hurt him. But the thing about him that I noticed, and I did some research today about the way Josh Heupel teaches his quarterbacks to play the position, and he actually teaches them to be flat-footed and have a very calm base when they're throwing the ball. The problem with Milton, though, is he does not teach them to hold the ball forever. So just because you've got a calm base and you're not moving your feet a lot doesn't mean you can hold on to the ball for a long time. He needs to work on getting rid of the ball. And I know he was trying to hit people deep, but like I said, if you've got a 15-yard slant across the middle that's wide open, you got to take it, because the success rate of that versus a deep ball is it's not even comparable. So like Wyatt said, I kind of throw the Bowling Green thing out the window. What I did like about Milton is he was able to get the team in the huddle and get them in the play. And I think that's that's about 25% of playing the position. And it looked like he was in sync with Heupel as far as what he wants to do on offense. But against Pitt, he's got to be much better. And he's not going to have that time. I watched Pitt. They've got some athletes. They've got athletes that could play for Tennessee. So if we don't play well, we're going to get beat.
Right, right. We got a couple comments. Doug, thanks for joining us. He says, I think, talking about Milton, he has absolutely no feel for the ball. He has no touch at all, and everything can't be 100 miles an hour. Also, for as big as he is, he avoids contact. I can't argue with any of that. James Hughes says, put in Hooker, and Matt Green's back again. He says, I still have faith in Bailey if he ever gets a shot. I feel like to add to what you're talking about, I feel like he'll get a shot eventually just because, like I said, I do feel like he's going to get hurt, man, standing back there. But, hey, thanks for the insight, Kevin. You said back to what you were saying, that's something that he actually teaches. I just didn't remember noticing that when his quarterbacks, talking about Heupel, at UCF, I don't remember them guys just standing back there like that. I didn't notice that. But like you said, he has to get rid of the ball. I 100% agree. What were some of the other things? I know Wyatt was excited about Hyatt. He had a couple catches. Wyatt, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought Hyatt played a good game for not really opening up the playbook. I think he finished about 4 catches for 62 yards. I think that's where he was at, I believe. So right there, that tells you you're going to be catching some deep balls hopefully this year. Not as much as I wanted. I was a little disappointed on the offense, but I'm not. If we were really seeing the playbook open up more, I'd be a lot more disappointed. But I thought Hyatt did for what the playbook was offering. I thought Hyatt played pretty good.
Right. Hey, go ahead, Kevin. I'm sorry.
Oh, my bad.
Go ahead, Kevin. Yeah, did we lose him? Guess we lost him. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Wyatt. Go ahead.
No, I just going back to, I think we're really going to get to see this Tennessee offense in full strength come this Saturday. So was a little disappointing not to see more out of the offense, but come back to me on that question next week when we get to see the full playbook come open.
Man, how about we had 2 running backs with over 100 yards? I think both of them, Smalls and Evans, had 116 yards.
When was the last time you saw that? When's the last time you saw that in a Tennessee game? That's my thoughts on that one right there.
Man, I can't. I wish I had done some research. I did not. I don't know when the last time. I'm sure. Do you not think that those boys
maybe
last year did it? At least one
I was thinking maybe Kamara and Hurd one time had over 100 yards rushing together. But I really can't remember the last time that was happening consistently from a Tennessee football team.
Right. Kevin, we got you back?
Yeah, sorry, connection issue.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know how it is in the sticks.
Yeah. Well, they got high-speed internet up there on the mountain, don't they?
I've got EPB.
Okay. All right, but what were you about to say? I felt like you were about to say something before you got cut off.
Were you guys talking about the running backs?
Well, yes, they both had over 100 yards. I'm telling you, I'm thinking Smalls. Heck, to be honest with you, I was more impressed with Evans. And I was everybody's high on Smalls,
I was dying to talk about Tyon Evans on this call because, listen, you watch a guy run, you can tell who the good ones are. And you can tell the natural ability that guys have. Tyon Evans has elite vision. He has good timing, and he's got incredible balance. And a lot of that's because he's got a low center of gravity. But I think between him and Small, he's the better player. And I think, honestly, and I know it was Bowling Green, but seeing his ability and his instincts out there, he will be an NFL running back. I'm marking it down right now. He will play in the NFL. You can tell.
Like I said, I agree with you. It did look like he was actually better than, I keep saying Smalls. It's Small.
Biggie Small.
No, I know. I'm thinking of, Small. I feel like I was more impressed with him by far. And like you said, he's actually a little thinner than I anticipated. I thought they acted like he was a big bruiser, didn't they?
He's short. He's got a build like Travis Henry, but he's a lot quicker than
A
Travis
lot,
Henry.
yeah. I mean, I would like I said, I was highly impressed. Highly impressed. Man, let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Young had some eligibility issues, if I remember correctly. He had played 2 games at a prep school, I believe, that they weren't aware of. So he might have to sit out. From my limited understanding, I feel like he might have to sit out the first 2 games of this year. But so I was looking for him, and that was why that's why I didn't see him. Did anybody stand out on the defensive side of the ball for either one of y'all?
Yeah, I would just say that Heupel said in his press conference today that they expect Young back this weekend.
Oh, they actually play. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just telling you what I read, but I'm okay.
Yep. So they're waiting on an appeal, and by all accounts, everything I've read is he was their best defensive player in camp.
Right. That's what I heard. That's what I heard constantly. I'm sorry.
You add him to a defensive line that obviously has taken off, well, at least relative to their talent level. Rodney Garner has made them a serviceable unit, and that's because Rodney Garner is one of the best defensive line coaches in the country. That's why you saw their hands were a lot more aggressive in this game. They were able to shed blockers and get into the backfield. We didn't see that last year. They didn't even have a defensive line coach last year. So these guys, I think they're going to be key to beating Pitt. They've got to sack Pickett and get them in long downs and distance to be able to beat them.
Okay. No, I don't disagree. Did either one of y'all actually stick with you, Wyatt? Who did you like anybody on the defense? I know you were talking about Mitchell.
A guy I've been really critical of the past few years was Theo Jackson. And I thought he really kind of I didn't even think of him to be a potential leader for this defense. And that's what I was harping on. Last show was I want a leader. And I was actually pretty impressed with the play of Theo Jackson. And I think he could potentially step up and be the leader of this defense going in. I thought he made some big plays, breaking up some passes and stuff. And I've been so critical of Theo Jackson from the moment we saw him in, I think it was 2019. He was laughing when we were losing to Vanderbilt. We were getting killed by Vanderbilt. He was over on the sidelines laughing at the end of the game, smiling. I've been so critical of him ever since that moment. I thought he stepped up big time, and I was highly impressed. I was impressed with the whole defense. We keep harping back to the fact that it was just Bowling Green. I think we can all viewers, everybody's agreed it was just Bowling Green, but the fact we didn't give up a single touchdown shocked me. Really did shock me in this game.
Right. Game 1, right? And like you said, they only gave up 219 yards total. I think I forgot the last time you had to go back to East Tennessee was the last time they gave up. Obviously last year it was all SEC play, but I'm with you, man. I'm glad you brought up Theo Jackson because I was really impressed with him as well. I felt like he made some plays, and like you said, every time I saw him, he did look like a liability. Go ahead, Wyatt. I'm sorry.
No, I was just agreeing with you.
That's a good point. Did Mitchell play? Because I didn't hear who the starting lineup was either. Did he play?
He didn't get any tackles because Theo Jackson and Jeremy Banks got all of them.
Yeah, that's another thing. I'm glad you brought up Banks. Man, I tell you, the last couple of years, he seemed slow to me. Did he not seem faster to y'all? Did it not look like he covered the field? Covered field more?
Let's be honest, guys. Everybody's going to look fast when they know what they're doing. We've been stuck in a brain fog for the last 2 years because Jeremy Pruitt was meddling in that defense and nobody could get on the same page and nobody knew what they were doing. That's why I think you're going to see Henry Toto have a big year for Bama because he's going to be coached and he's going to know what he needs to do and he's going to be effective. And you could tell, and I agree with Wyatt about Theo. Theo played a good game. He actually looked bigger to me. I don't know if he put on any weight, but he was in on a lot of tackles. Everybody seemed to know what they were doing. There was no confusion and people pointing back and forth and readjusting. So that's very, very encouraging, in my opinion.
Very much so. Very much so. And it goes back to anybody who's watched the show. If you go, it goes back to, can you do more with less? And apparently, this Tim Banks, again, like you say, it's early, but he has proven he can do more or less. And back to what you were talking about, Kevin. Pruitt was trying to install the Alabama defense. And if you've noticed, Alabama's defense, to my limited knowledge of Alabama, man, they're not playing a lot of freshmen and sophomores. They're playing redshirt sophomores, juniors, and blah, because it's a complex offense. And not only that, they have the best athletes. You know, they're so deep. So you cannot run that kind of defense. Like you said, it really goes back to the poor coaching job that Pruitt did. He was trying to do more. I'm sorry. He was trying to do. He could not replicate what Nick Saban and them do at Alabama because the circumstances were different. First of all, he didn't have the time to really, like you were saying, they seemed like they were playing faster. I totally agree, because they knew what they were doing, because their assignments were more simple. I know Alabama has a very complex defense. So just to add to what you're saying, Kevin, we got a couple more comments here. Matt Green's back again. Thank you. What did Matt say? Let's see here. That up-tempo offense will run defenses out of gas and open the run game all season as long as the O-line can stay in shape. Good point. Good point. And he also was back again. Matt Green, thanks for your comments. He says defense was aggressive in getting hats on the ball. I agree. It was a beautiful thing to see. Did either one of y'all watch the Pitt game? I feel like I asked you that. I just don't remember what you said.
I watched it.
You did? So what kind of offense are they running? I mean, because the last time I really watched Pitt and enjoyed watching them, man, they were out there in 2-3 tights with the fullback running some really nasty football. What did they run Saturday?
I mean, they run a combination of old school, new school. From what I could see, they had some spread concepts. The thing that jumped out to me about Pitt was they had a running back that was really, really quick. They had a wide receiver who had really, really good speed. So I'm interested to see how we respond against much better athletes, because they definitely have some really good high-level athletes on that offense. And then Pickett. There's some people saying that he'll get drafted by the 3rd or 4th round in this draft as a quarterback. So Tennessee has their hands full with Pitt.
Right. What was your thoughts on how Pitt played, Wyatt?
I mean, you know, it was UMass, but I mean, they were 3 yards shy of getting 600 yards on Saturday. I think they totaled 597. Yeah, I think that was Pitt that had about 5. I think that was, yeah. But they ran the ball for like quite a few yards, I think, but like they didn't start really running towards the end of the game.
Right.
So they mainly start off passing, and it was like, okay, UMass has pretty much given up this game. Let's start running. I don't think they had a running back eclipse the 50-yard mark. So they're going to be passing a lot. Their quarterback, I think he's closing in on 9,000 yards career total. So he'll probably end up passing for over 11,000 yards in his career. So that's what they're going to rely on a lot, I think, is the passing game. So we're really going to see how our pass defense holds up this Saturday.
Right.
I will say a little off topic because it's going to Pittsburgh's defensive side. But Heupel, he's UCF played against Pittsburgh 2018, 2019. Heupel, I think that his lowest scoring game against Pittsburgh, UCF scored 34 points. And Pittsburgh has the same defensive coordinator. So Heupel knows his defensive coordinator, what he's going to be throwing at Tennessee and stuff. So that's a plus side for us.
Good point. I'm glad you brought that out. And to add to what you were saying, they had 598 yards on offense. And they rushed the ball for 223, which is amazing. Like you said, their biggest, most productive running back was 45 yards on 8 carries. So I don't know where they got that 223 yards rushing. That is interesting, but good point. Speaking of that, I guess we'll just go ahead and get our thoughts on that, on the Pitt game. I looked it up, and I guess Tennessee is 0-2 versus Pitt. They lost them in 1980. I think it was 13-6. And then they also lost them in 1983. Like 31-6 or something like that. So, do you think we're going to go 0-3, or you think they'll log a victory? Go ahead, Kevin.
Oh gosh, I wrestled with this because I knew we'd end up picking the game. So I'm going to try to be neutral here, and until I see us perform against a quality opponent, I'm going to be a little bit hesitant to say I think we're going to win. I actually think that Pitt is going to win the game 27-24.
Okay,
And
27.
I hope I'm wrong.
27-24. So uh, we opened up as 3-point underdogs. So that's what you're going with. I got you. Why?
Yep.
I'm gonna go sort of similar to Kevin, but I think maybe a little bit more high scoring. Um, just with Heupel knowing this defense, knowing what works against this defensive coordinator and stuff. With everything in me, if I'm picking with my heart, I'm picking Tennessee to win this game. But that's where I agree with Kevin is until I can see, that we can come out and score a lot of points against a strong opponent. Just with what Tennessee's coming off with, I think Pittsburgh wins a close, high-scoring game. Um, just I want to pick Tennessee, but I just with the experience that Pittsburgh's got at quarterback and stuff. I think Peyton Manning threw for 11,000 yards in his career, so 9,000 yards where he's at right now. That's an impressive career. All thing about Pittsburgh is they've had some solid teams in the past year, but I think they're super inconsistent. They're one of those teams that beat the Clemson, Dabo Sweeney Clemson teams. I think Pittsburgh has had a lot of the talent over the years, but they're just so inconsistent. I'm wondering what Pittsburgh team is going to show up in Knoxville on Saturday.
Right, right. Well, I guess we're gonna make it a sweep because I feel the exact same way. I don't feel like, man. I agree with what Kevin said last week. This is the most important game of the year for Tennessee, but I do feel like we're gonna lose, and I
Yeah,
feel like it's probably gonna be a bigger margin. More, I would go more 42-28. Man, we'll see. Maybe I just pulled that out of the air, but that's what I'm thinking. I think they're gonna probably beat Tennessee. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Let's see. There's a couple other good games on. Who's gonna win tonight, anyways? We already talked about that. Never mind.
Hey Jesse, before we move on,
Yes.
we got to mention one thing.
Go ahead, Kev.
There were no crowds last year for any Pitt or UT games. It'll be over a year and a half that Pickett has been in front of a hostile crowd. And I know he hasn't seen a crowd in the ACC like he'll see this Saturday. So I'm sticking with my Pitt prediction there, but I think the crowd could be a big factor for a team that likes to make a lot of checks at the line.
Man, I'm glad you brought that up. Good job, Kevin, because I was actually shocked to look at the numbers. And they had over 84,000 people attended that game Thursday night. To be exact, 84,314, which is pretty impressive. So you can't help but think it's going to be at least mid 90s next
I think
Saturday?
they'll get to 100.
You think they'll get over 100?
Yep.
Man.
I think they'll get to 100.
Okay. Okay, man. I mean, like that's a very good point. So that's like you said, that's a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up. So maybe I need to squash that 42-28. Maybe be 35-28. Maybe that's what I need. So because the crowd is good for at least 7, aren't they?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's good for a few false starts and some long downs and distance.
Right.
Because it's not just Pickett, it's the offensive line. If they're not disciplined and the crowd's affecting them getting the calls, it could cause a big problem for them.
So moving forward, I guess I can't help but ask, man, does it look like Alabama's going to repeat to y'all? I mean, the way they handled Miami, I know everybody thought that it was going to be a good game, including me, like a moron. But man, they went out there and absolutely drug Miami. What's y'all's thoughts on Alabama this year?
Go ahead, Wyatt.
There's a kid in my law school class, huge Big Ten fan, asked me if I know anything about SEC football. I said, I know a thing or two. He said, "Is that an easy?" He said, "Is that an easy pick? Alabama covering the spread on Miami." I said, "That's the easiest money you're going to make." He texted me on Saturday and said, "Thanks for the free $500." He took a bet. Alabama does this.
Did you charge them the lawyer's fee of a third?
I should have. I
Okay.
should have. But year in and year out, Alabama plays these non-conference openers. They always win big. And I mean, Alabama is still Alabama. But they play Florida September 18th. I'm going to hold off on judging. Is Alabama going to win it all again when they go into the swamp? And I want to see what they do there before I judge them on if they come out on top again this year.
Okay. Go ahead, Kevin. I know you said you had something to say about that.
I've got one concern with Alabama. This is the only concern I have, and it's not obviously has anything to do with talent. I'm wanting to see if Bryce Young can take a hit, because there is no way that guy weighs more than 180 pounds. And you're in the SEC. All it takes is one 275 defensive end to put all his weight on top of you to have a shoulder go out, and you have to miss time. So
Right.
they better protect him because he is a small dude. That is the only thing I would worry about with Alabama. If he stays healthy the whole year, nobody's going to beat him.
Man,
Nobody.
man, you're right. He is a small guy, but you forget that it's Alabama. First of all, they have the best offensive line, I guess, what recruit wise or star wise. Then they always have the SEC refs on their side. I mean, how many years have they had no holding calls throughout the regular season? I know it happened at least once, and when they got drugged by Clemson in the national championship, no holding calls. But all of a sudden during the national championship run, they had at least five that game. So don't worry about that, Kevin. You're always going to have the 12th man, the referees for the Alabama Crimson Tide. What about the Georgia game? To me, that was a great game. I'm old-fashioned. I like defensive games. That's exactly what that was. The only touchdown was scored by a pick six from a safety, I believe. What's y'all thoughts on Georgia? Because I tell you, their defense is nasty. Number 99 and 95 are monsters in there. Go ahead.
This day and age, the way football goes, you don't know if it's really good defense or bad offense. How high potent offense are these days. I don't know if Georgia's defense was just that good or Clemson's offense was that bad.
Now,
In the same way, was Clemson's defense that good or was Georgia offense that bad? With the way the offenses go, and I think there's a way to tell that these days if there's a good defense, but still you'll have great defenses giving up 27 points in a game these days in college football, just because how fast the game moves now and stuff. I thought the defenses looked great. Jesse, I was thinking about you that whole game. I said Jesse's loving this game right now. Jesse's watching this, just having the time of his life watching this game. But I enjoyed the game too. But I want to see is Georgia's defense really that real? Though I don't know who their next big opponent is.
Man, they have such a cupcake schedule. It's unreal. It's unreal how easy. Oh my goodness, I can't. I have to pull it up, but I mean, I don't know when their next big opponent is, because really the only opponent, looking at what they looked like, what was it, 2 nights ago, the only people I think that can beat them is, like we talked about, Alabama or maybe a Florida. Maybe. I mean,
they got Arkansas. They got Arkansas October 2nd. Which Arkansas didn't impress too much against Rice. They started off slow. They got it going.
Losing at halftime, actually. But, yeah, they turned it on.
And Georgia, they've got Auburn October 9th, Kentucky October 16th, and Florida October 30th.
That's what I'm saying.
So, yeah, Georgia. We'll see with Georgia. I'm like you. I want to see is Georgia's defense for real. Are they really this shut down?
Man,
ready? Because if they are, this might be the year Georgia finally breaks through. If they really are that real defense,
I feel like
or not.
I feel like they really are. I think that, because now I think they rushed, but they got I believe 7 sacks. And from what I saw, at least half of those were from a 4-man rush. So, man, and they were just, those ain't no Rudy Poos over there on the Clemson side. But to add to what you're saying, man, the offense, the rules are bent towards the offense. So even if they're not as good, the rules are still bent towards to favor the offense, in my opinion, especially in modern day football with the RPOs and all that. I was unimpressed with Clemson's quarterback. He did look, but like you said, but the question is, was he just that bad, or was Georgia that good? Man, I'm gonna lean towards, I feel like Georgia's defense is legit. Now, they're not gonna hold everybody to 3 points. That's not possible. But man, they're nasty. Kevin, man, we didn't ask you about that game. Did you watch that game?
I did. So I always try to avoid first game overreactions.
So is that what you're accusing me of, Kevin? Because I don't appreciate that. I'm just joking.
I would never accuse you of something like that. But what I saw was a very good fast defense that Georgia has, one that's always around the ball. I agree with you guys that you don't lose the number 1 pick in the draft and Travis Etienne and Amari Rodgers and not take a step back. And it was really the first time that was it DJ? I can't pronounce his last name. DJU is what we'll call him.
Okay.
It was his first time as the bona fide starter, right? He stepped in for Lawrence last year when he was, I guess it was COVID issues.
I feel like he was out against Notre Dame. He actually played the whole game against Notre Dame. I feel like maybe I'm wrong on that, but go ahead, Kevin. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't interrupt.
But it's his first year as being the bona fide starter, and he's missing some really talented guys in Etienne and Amari Rogers. They may be missing more than that that I'm not thinking of, but I'm going to go in the middle a little bit here and say Georgia's defense is good. Do I think that they're elite? I'm not ready to anoint them as elite yet. I want to see them do it a couple more times.
And you're going to see them do it a couple more times against, especially against the schedule that they have. I feel like, Wyatt rattled it off. But I mean, those ain't even big games. Besides, maybe, like I said, Florida. I don't think Kentucky ain't got. Everybody else is just outmanned. Everybody else is outmanned besides Florida on the schedule, and then whoever comes out of the West, which I don't know if it's going to be Alabama or Texas A&M. But I feel like it's going to be Alabama. Did anybody watch any of the Texas A&M? Do they look legit or?
I didn't watch any of the A&M games.
I hate it. I don't even know why I'm asking about them because I can't. You know how Jimbo Fisher is a C+ coach. I'm so unimpressed with that guy. I hope they get drugged at least 3 times this year. At least 3 times, because he's. Go ahead.
I was just say I agree with you, Jimbo Fisher, but I'm just saying my prediction about ETSU was spot on, beating Vanderbilt. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, that was embarrassing.
What was the score on that?
They won 23-3. I was looking at Vanderbilt's schedule. That was the only for sure win of Vanderbilt's schedule. I think Vanderbilt goes 0-12 this year. I'll just look at their schedule. I think they go 0-12 this year.
There's no way.
Vandy's back to being Vandy.
The other non-conference games they have are Stanford, Connecticut, and Colorado State.
Okay. Well, we'll see. Let's see here. What about y'all ready to go ahead and pick a couple of the good games hopefully next week?
I can share my screen. I've got the schedule pulled up.
Go ahead.
You'll have to enable the screen sharing. So.
Oh, crap. Let me see here. Try it now. But
there we go.
Let me see here. What? There's only one SEC matchup. Where is that? Oh, Missouri at Kentucky. Who wins that game? I guess we'll start with that one.
Missouri came out of the gate and looked just terrible. Their defense looked terrible against Central Michigan. Central Michigan was just imposing their will. Missouri sort of dug their feet in, and I think they ended up with nine or 10 sacks on the day. So Missouri, I'm a little unsure about them. I'll have to see how they start this off. If they start out like they did against Central Michigan, Kentucky might pull that one out. We'll see.
Okay. Who wins that game in your opinion, Kevin?
Kentucky wins that game.
Let's see. What's
it's at home. Kentucky's got a decent quarterback this year. I think Missouri they were getting a little bit of pub before this year, but I still think they lack a lot of talent. Kentucky had a really good player from Nebraska transfer to them who had a big game this past weekend. So I think Kentucky wins that game.
Okay. And I guess to me, the only intriguing, there's 2 more intriguing games for next in the SEC. You have Texas playing Arkansas. Texas at Arkansas. I mean, back to what you were talking about, Wyatt. With it seemed like they were flat with Rice. Do you think they were looking ahead to Texas or Tejas?
They easily could have been. And Sam Pittman went and chewed him out. In the halftime, got him playing right and stuff. I still think Arkansas wins that game. I'm super unimpressed with Texas. I think Arkansas ends up winning the game. I think it's a close game, but I think Arkansas wins.
You're super unimpressed with Texas?
I've been unimpressed with Texas for the past 10 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ever since Mike Brown got fired. Sarkisian, the man's he's probably drunk at practice right now coaching Texas.
Hey.
The same reason he got fired from USC. So I think Arkansas wins.
Okay, Kevin, what's your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I've got Texas on upset alert this week. I think they could easily lose that game. Arkansas, their fans are really excited about Sam Pittman. Um, and then the other one that I'm going to be interested to see is that Colorado Texas A&M game
I'm glad you brought that up because that was the one that looked intriguing to me. Go ahead, Kevin.
because I don't know enough about Colorado to say I think they could upset them, but it's a Power Five school. They're going to have some decent athletes. Texas A&M's got to show up to win that game.
I agree, man. I can't remember the guy who was there because I can't remember. He's a black guy. Not that
Mel
necessarily.
Tucker.
No. He was at Michigan State now. This guy was the coach for them a couple like for UCLA a couple years ago.
Carl Durrell.
Is that it? And then he went to then he played. I mean, then he was like I think the DC for the Miami Dolphins. But anyways, he did it. Whatever his name is, I can't. Starts
It's
with
Carl
a D.
Durrell.
Is it Darrell? Okay, he
Yeah.
did a great job for them last year. They were actually very competitive in all the games that they played in last year. Ask me how I know. I kind of watched Colorado football because my mother was raised in Colorado. Not that anybody cares, but I've been a Colorado fan for a long time. As far as obviously not as much as a Tennessee fan, but I kind of keep a close tab on that program, and I feel like they're going to be feisty. I think they're definitely going to be outmanned with Texas A&M. Texas A&M has far more talent than them, but from what I saw last year, and I feel like I didn't get to watch. I think they played North Colorado was their opener, which doesn't mean a hill of beans, but I think they'll have them ready. They play a nice brand of football, too tight to kind of hold on to the ball to give themselves a shot. So it seems like they play a sound defense. So I'm excited to watch that game too, and I definitely hope. Now I think Texas A&M is going to win that game, but I think it's gonna be a good game. So I'm glad you brought that up. Speaking of
It's
that,
Haynes King.
go ahead.
It's
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kevin.
it's Haynes King's second start for Texas A&M, and it's on the road. It's his first road start, so it'll be challenging for them.
Okay. Okay. I hope so because, like I said, that guy's a C+ coach, so I hope he gets beat. Wyatt, what do you think about that game?
I I Colorado. I mean, I just
Don't hate on him
don't know
now. I
enough
just
about
told
that.
you. I'm joking.
Like, no, like Colorado that one year they had the dude McIntyre. I thought they were going to finally come back to being the Colorado of the '90s. A dude from San Jose State that came in.
Yes, I know
Uh,
exactly what you're talking about.
he ended up being, just like a 1 year wonder for him. A&M, uh, it's A&M is not a tough job. Texas, the resources to you. I think if Jimbo was a guy, he would have had them at where they're supposed to be. I'm not saying he would have had them beating Bama, but he would have had them already. These consecutive years of right there with Bama. Um, A&M, they're showing up. They're still getting beat badly by Bama. I agree with Kevin said. Power Five conference with Colorado. Um, I don't know enough about them to pick them over A&M, so I'm still going to go with A&M. But I would not be shocked at all if this was a close ball game.
Right. I don't. That's the only. Well, hey, the other one might be a good game is North Carolina State versus Mississippi State. That's the only one that looks.
This goes back to what I was saying last week about Mike Leach. You never know what you're going to get out of a Mike Leach football team. You can get a team that wins by 40 points. You get a team that loses to an FCS school. Mississippi State could win this game handedly. Mississippi State could get beat handedly. It could also be a last-second field goal win for one of these teams. I hate predicting Mike Leach games because you never know what you're going to get from the guy. With that being said, I'm picking the SEC team, Mississippi State, to win.
All right. Yeah. Kevin, what about that? I guess that's the last one I want to choose.
I agree with Wyatt. I would never even attempt to bet on Mississippi State when it comes to the spread because you just don't know what you're going to get. I think that watching them this past weekend, I have some serious concerns about their talent. I think NC State's going to win the game.
All right. I'm going with NC State as well. Mike Leach, like you said, you never know what you're going to get. He's consistently inconsistent. Nah, that dude's a consistent coach, man. He'll get them turned around at some point. I shouldn't say turned around, but he'll start winning more than he loses at least by year 3, I believe. But
Well, my problem with Mike Leach is the places he is at Texas Tech and Washington State, those are places he was able to win at without highly recruiting, not a lot of talent that Mississippi State does not have. Because Washington State, you're not playing Bama, LSU every week, and when he was at Texas Tech, all he had to worry about was Oklahoma and Texas.
Right.
When you're in the SEC, you're playing Alabama, LSU, Auburn. You're playing A&M. You're playing these teams every week. You got to have that talent to go along with that brilliant play calling. I think he can do. So I don't think Mike Leach is a good fit for an SEC school.
No, he gets a lot more pressure than the SEC than he did at Washington State.
Well, we're gonna see. We're gonna see. I feel like he. It also depends on which SEC school you're talking about. You don't think if he was at, well, soon to be SEC Oklahoma or soon to be Texas, he wouldn't be winning? I feel like he would because he'd have enough players just because of the prestige and the yada 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 of those programs. And Florida, I feel like he would win at Florida.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I think he could win. I'm just saying he's got to go somewhere where he can recruit.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think Mississippi State's a good fit for him because that's just been a place that's so historically hard to recruit at. It's so tough to recruit to Mississippi State.
Right.
So I just don't know how good of a fit he is for one of the smaller bottom tier SEC schools.
Right. Well, man, we've been going on for 50 minutes. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Y'all have any closing thoughts? Because I don't. Besides go Vols.
Closing thoughts. Just hoping we show up on Saturday, put a good effort up there. I don't want to leave that game next week thinking, oh man, Heupel's not the guy. I want to leave that game with some positive, right. I guess, positive energy about Heupel and his future there. So I think it's a very critical game for Heupel as far as momentum is concerned.
Well, I mean, like you said, you hit it last week. You said it's the most important game of the year, and I can't argue with that. The more I thought about it, you're absolutely right. And like you said, I'm not win or lose, man. Look like y'all know what y'all are doing on both sides of the ball. Look like y'all know what y'all are doing on both sides of the ball. That's what I'm looking to see.
Yep.
So,
Josh Heupel, go in, do something. I was just looking it up. Philip Fulmer didn't even do this in his first year as Tennessee head coach. Go in, go 3-0 as a first-year head coach. No first year. I don't even know who the last one is, but Fulmer went 2-1 his first full year. I know he took over for Majors that first time, but then Majors came back. But first full year as head coach, something Fulmer didn't even do. Go in, do something that no coach has done.
So, all right. Sounds good, man. Well, that's it. We'll hope to be back next Sunday, not Monday night, for the Played Out, Wait Out show. And hopefully we're talking about a victory. Go Vols.
Go Vols.